Hey everyone, my name is David Rao and I'm the music teacher who blogs at makemomentsmatter.org. You can also find my ideas on Facebook, on Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, YouTube, and a variety of other places when you search for my name, David Rao, or Make Moments Matter. I'm really excited tonight to be sharing about some of my favorite digital resources that are free and easy to use that you can use when you are teaching kids about symphonies, bands, just a lot of different instrumental groups, things that will help you out, hopefully in your classroom that will enhance the lessons that you're already teaching and give you some ideas for some new things. That's coming up in just a minute. When you hear me talk about all these great, cool, free resources, they're all linked on one place. So the links page at the bottom of the caption of wherever you're watching, listening to this, there should be a direct link that can take you to my blog, which is makemomentsmatter.org. You click on the video tab, and under this year's videos, you should be able to find all the links, but I'll also direct link that in the caption for this. Also, there's a Facebook group if you're interested where you can learn more, make friends, ask questions, make community, and that's Every Moment Matters Music Education Community on Facebook. If you want to join us and come along for the ride, ask more questions, make friends. It's a great place to join the community, join the conversation. Okay, so I'm going to get to those digital resources in just a second, but I had to share a new book because I was in Ames, Iowa this last weekend for the Iowa Music Educators Association State Conference. It was so great to be there with folks and to learn and share, and just had a really great time. But one day after presenting, I was able to go to downtown Ames, like old Ames, and sort of see some of the cool shops that are down there. And there was like a little local bookstore, and there was a local coffee shop. There was like an apothecary. There's a candle place, like all these fun little places. And so, of course, I went into the bookstore, and of course, I found way too many things. But one of the books that I found was really cool, and it's will be perfect for winter holidays. So I wanted to share it now before I forget, but also to give you all the chance to try and find it if you want to use it in your own classroom. So the book that I found is this one called The Christmas Pine. It's by Julia Donaldson and Victoria Sandoy. I don't know how to pronounce that, the O with a little slash. Sorry, I should have looked up the IPA for that, but I did not. And anyway, I'm so sorry about that. I think it's maybe a Norwegian name, but I'll check into that in a minute. But anyway, this is called The Christmas Pine. I want to share just part of it with you. A really cool book that I plan to use, especially with third grade when I'm teaching O Tannenbaum later in the semester, in just a couple weeks, actually. Okay. Once upon a time I stood with brothers and sisters in a wood. The old trees told me I had grown from a tiny seed inside a cone. The whispering wind was a friend of mine. She said that I would grow and shine. I grew up tall. I grew up high. I grew until I saw the sky. By the way, these are just beautiful, beautiful illustrations. If you're listening on the podcast, I hope you check it out. It's super, super stunning stuff and fun, accessible for kids too. Then came the day they cut me down and carried me off to a distant town. And normally this is when we're like, oh no, the giving tree, this is going to be bad. But actually, it's good. You'll see in just a second. I traveled far across the sea, and now I am a Christmas tree. Here I stand in a city square. I stand and shine in the winter air. The lions keep me company, and Nelson keeps an eye on me. And people pass and stop a while. I love to see them gaze and smile. But more, yes, more than anything, I love to hear the children sing. Songs of reindeer, songs of snow, reminding me of long ago. Songs of kings who traveled far, and songs of light from a distant star. I cannot stay forever here. Another tree will come next year. But think of me when I am gone. Remember how I grew and shone. And may the children grow and shine like the Christmas pine. Okay, so not very long. Fun story, sort of short. But I love the back because it gives context about like, oh, like fun, interesting story. But The back says, the Christmas pine is based on a true story. It celebrates a special tradition that stretches back over 70 years. Every year since 1947, the mayor of Oslo in Norway presents the British people with a spectacular Christmas tree. The pine tree, usually a Norwegian spruce, is a symbol of peace and friendship, a thank you for the UK's support during World War II. Norwegian foresters choose the tree months or even years ahead. They call it the queen of the forest and talk to it and even hug it to make sure that the tree grows strong and tall. When the tree is fully grown, it's felled in a ceremony before setting off on a long journey over sea and land. It travels over 1,000 miles all the way to London's Trafalgar Square, where it stands proudly shining with lights. And then each year the UK Poetry Society asks a poet to write a poem to welcome the tree. And this poem that inspired this book, Julia Donaldson originally wrote in 2020. And it was performed by school children and displayed in Trafalgar Square. So super, super, super cool book. Gives a little bit of context. It also is fun because the tradition of the Tannenbaum and becoming a Christmas tree and all of that is really cool and tied to the Song of Tannenbaum. And like then this sort of brings in another country, so not just Germany, not just the German tradition, but it also brings in this tradition of Norway and how they're connected to the UK. And it's just a super, super cool story. So I'm excited to share this with students when I teach O Tannenbaum coming up in just a few months. And that's The Christmas Pine by Julia Donaldson and Victoria Sandoy. I will link that on the links page. Okay, so let's talk about digital resources. So this last week has been a busy week because last week on Thursday night I drove up to Ames, Iowa to present at the Iowa Music Educators Association State Conference, and so I was busy planning and doing things for that. And then the week before was I had a concert that week, and then and then also last week I was able to take my students on a field trip to see the Kansas City Symphony. And so because I live in Kansas City, it's really close, and they have these great programs for kids where kids come in and they were able to like see the orchestra and see like all the different parts of the orchestra. It's a cool program where like they get to see like what does a conductor do, what do the principals do. They hear a lot of different music. They talk about composers who have been dead a long time, but also composers who are still living, and they play music by living composers. And they talk about, they have a soloist come in, a student soloist who plays a concerto, and that's really cool at one of our local high schools. And I mean, it's a really, really, really cool program. If you're in Kansas City, check out the Kansas City programs for students in schools. But a lot of orchestras and symphonies and groups around the country are continually trying to do this outreach and education and trying to provide resources that not only highlight what great things their symphony does, but also just help students and teachers around the country. And so I wanted to share some of my favorite things and some of the things that are new to me that I did not know about until recently, or maybe I forgot about and know a little bit about. So the first thing I wanted to share about is a couple different resources from the St. Louis Symphony Orchestra. So the St. Louis Symphony Orchestra, and I'm going to try and show it here. I'm going to try and turn this around so you can actually see their website in a second, but they have a couple different programs, all free, but you must register to get. It's like once you register, it's like you immediately get an email and it's like, here's your link in. But I think the reason they're doing that is so that they can sort of track like who they're helping and how they're helping, so they can say like, hey sponsors, you should sponsor more because look at all these people that we're reaching and helping. So it does help them that you sign in and register. But like I said, it's free. You don't have to do anything extra. They don't spam you with emails or anything. It's just you sign up once and then you get access to all these really cool resources. So they have a whole thing for things that it's like pre-K and kinder called Digital Tiny Tunes. I'll show you those in a second. They have digital concerts. Right now they're featuring Peter and the Wolf. That's for grades like 1 through 5. Probably, I usually say Peter and the Wolf is usually K1, 2, but if you do it older, cool, good for you. And this is cool because they partner with actually the Endangered Wolf Center in Eureka, Missouri, so it adds a little bit of fun context to Peter and the Wolf. And then there's the Sound Lab, which they have, which I'll show you in just a second, and that's for older grades. And it's cool, sort of talks about like how sound works and is a little bit maybe more STEAM focused. So if your school wants you to do more of that, this is a really cool way to do that. And then for older grades, you could actually see some of their concerts without sort of the, like anytime you show a younger grade or younger ages, like a symphony concert, you usually add some more scaffolding and explain a little bit more. The Digital Passport series is for older students who don't need as much of that. So it's really not geared for the younger kids. But, then they also have an online instrument playground and like a way for kids to sort of do that. And then there's an activity gallery. There's all this cool stuff. It's all free. There are classroom guides, curriculum guides, all sorts of things on there. So let me just show you a couple of those things if my computer will let me. Let's see. Okay, so this is the St. Louis Symphony Orchestra webpage. Hold on, let me turn this around. Sorry, Instagram. Thank you, Instagram. Okay, so what you're seeing is the St. Louis Symphony Orchestra webpage. So they, like I said, they have their digital programs. They have their Tiny Tunes. That's for the pre-K and K. I'll show you one of those in a second. The digital concert, which is Peter and the Wolf. Then the Sound Lab, which is sort of the STEM thing, the STEM geared activities. This is for the older grades, the Digital Passport. And then here are the online learning resources, the Instrument Playground and the Activity Gallery. So let me pull up. This is the Tiny Toons. So this is called The Lion and the Mouse. And this is sort of cool because they integrate some different songs that you get to see a lot. And actually, it's very interactive for kids.
What instruments make sound from air?
So I think this is really cool, especially for younger kids, because younger kids, it's like, yeah, you can play the excerpt, but kids can only stay engaged for so long. And so they do interject and they start to explain and talk about as they're going, which is really cool. And then they also have these moments where there's a way for students to interact and like participate and like, what can a student be doing? So like when the French horn plays, the person off on the side imitates what that looks like. And so like kids are encouraged, like, yeah, you should try it too. Here's a string instrument. Here's another one. So as they're like telling the story and doing that, they're explaining things. They're also involving kids. Every time I watch this or see this, I'm like, oh my gosh, this would be so great for a sub. It's only 30 minutes long. But there are some elements that are maybe better for like an in-class experience. So for this, they have these 4 cards: lion, lion, mouse, and the lion's asleep. And so basically they say you can give your student an instrument, rhythm stick, egg shaker, whatever, and they get to play along. So they teach them the pattern, just like you would in your classroom. They let kids practice it first, and then they get to play it while the symphony plays the song. So it's really pretty interactive and cool that like kids are encouraged to play along with the St. Louis Symphony. This is skewed very young, right? Like this is for a much younger age. Let me see if I can go a little further because there is animation a little bit later on. So just this one thing, this is the Lion and the Mouse. It's cool because it's got animation, it's got interactive, it's got play-alongs, all these cool things that all just happen in 30 minutes. So it really jam-packed in there. The other one that's the same thing for younger kids is the same sort of idea, only based around the book Giraffes Can't Dance by Giles Andre and Guy Parker Reese. And this has music from Carnival of the Animals and some other things in there too. And students, I love this one because they're encouraged to move expressively in here. So they give them examples, like if you have a scarf, or this is also, I think it was geared for like when kids were home at COVID. Well, if you don't have a scarf, you can use a Kleenex or whatever. But it shows them some ways they can move and then encourages them to move when they hear the music later on, because then it does go and tell the story of Giraffes Can't Dance.
Put your scarf in one hand and straighten that arm so it's way out to the side.
So it's really cool. It does help retell the story and gives some fun context. It's not just listening to musicians. It's interactive as well, which is definitely going to keep kids more engaged. Both of those things for the younger grades are just 30 minutes long. Here's the Peter and the Wolf concert. It's 40 minutes long. It's the same sort of thing, just geared a little bit older. So all the things you would expect from a Peter and the Wolf concert, there is, and a little bit more. There's all the music, right? And then there's also, let me see if I can find it in here.
On a branch of a big tree sat a little bird.
Yeah, so the narration, all of that, like you would expect. And then there are some moments where they actually have like dancers and people recreate some of the story. And I can't find it in here. Oh yeah, there are some ways they can find and recreate some of the story in there too, which is really cool. And actual pictures of wolves from the Endangered Wolf Center. And they talk a little bit more and give more context. Okay, more from the St. Louis Symphony. They also have, this is the one that's geared for a little bit for older. This is called the Sound Lab. So like, I'll just show you this first episode called Feel the Sound. So this is pretty cool, and it is a little bit more science. It's a shorter video, about 15 minutes, but it talks about our interaction with the world, our interaction with things around us. Again, it's very interactive.
Just kidding. The audience isn't here. The audience is you. Yes, you.
And they have all these great clips of kids at home doing things. So, like, see if I can find an example. They have one kid playing, making music, and another kid reacting. And they encourage the audience to do that as well.
Once you have
Let's see if I can back that up again.
Next.
They use verbal prompts, like words that, how would you react, how would you move, how would you make sounds for that. And then also, they have sounds where kids can react to. So a lot of music kids would know, and then it also talks about the sound waves, it talks about all the science behind it, categorizing sound, relating sound with emotions, all sorts of really cool stuff. And this is all just from the St. Louis Symphony. It's free. All you have to do is register. I've done it. I've gotten the email immediately that was like, here are all your links. So you can't just go to their website and pull it up. It is something where you have to register, but it's free. They don't spam you, I promise. I have done it. And so I plan to use these things already in lessons, but then also think like, how could I use this with a substitute teacher? Could I integrate this maybe with our STEM stuff? And how can I, there are some really cool extra things like, I'm going to make sure that I connect this with this other thing or connect it to someone else. So go just check it out and see what you can find. There are a lot of really great things there. And like I said, it's free. Oh my gosh, it's wonderful. A couple other things that I was playing around with as I was getting ready to take my kids to the symphony. One of my favorite videos, this is the Portland Youth Philharmonic. This is just on YouTube. It's a really quick video, about 15 minutes, where they go through and they introduce the different sections of the Philharmonic. And it's a little bit silly, a little bit fun, because it's a youth symphony, so that's a fun way to... they're just silly and they're fun and they have a good time explaining all of that. That's linked on the links page. Another demonstration video that I absolutely love that I've used for years and years is this one from the United States Army Field Band. These are super great musicians, super professional. The way they play is amazing. They have great excerpts. And then also it's a connection to the military, to the field bands, to the military groups, if you want to talk more about that. And show kids some of those things. And just, again, amazing musicians, great examples. It's only about 20 minutes long. I put this in sub plans. I also love using it as a prep sort of activity when I know the band teachers from the high school are going to come around to try for like recruitment days. This is really great to give kids an idea and a taste of those instruments before they actually show up at our school. Two more things. Another fun one that I found, this is the London Symphony Orchestra, and they have these really cool interactive concerts. So there's Britain's Four Sea Interludes. I didn't catch the name of that first one. Elgar's Enigma Variations, Debussy's Prelude to the Faun. Let's see, what's the other one? The Shostakovich, the Fifth Symphony. Stravinsky, Rite of Spring. So let me just go back to Elgar here, because this is the one I looked at just a little bit ago. So the cool thing is it plays basically like a performance, but it shows you multiple angles. So when you're watching the performance, I can show you this. When you're watching the performance, you see things from different views. The conductor and the strings view, there's the conductor, strings, and woodwinds. There's just the conductor view right now. It'll add the French horns and other things in a minute, and then just strings. So if you click just one view, it'll change. You can change from where you're seeing things, who you're seeing, what you're seeing. So it's really cool because it's all happening, in the moment, but then you see different parts. You really get a zoomed in, really cool view. And you hear great music. I mean, it's the London Symphony Orchestra. They're amazing. But this is just super cool because, even if you went to a performance, like my students and I, we went to see the Kansas City Symphony, you don't see up this close. And then over here on the side, you can click that little thing and it says explore the orchestra, and you can sort of see who sits where, the different instruments, and then about them. So let's click first violin. It talks about the violin, facts, things like that. And it goes through, just gives you a quick bio while you're still listening if you want. So super, super cool. That's the London Symphony Orchestra. That's linked on the links page, and I don't think I can get them to stop, so I'm just going to close the page. And the last one's the Dallas Symphony Orchestra. So this is super cool. It's got make your own instrument, at home. If you wanted to make maracas, if you wanted to make something that resembles a brass instrument, right? You can do all of that. That's cool little activities for kids at home. They have a coloring book. They have a flat Beethoven, which is like flat Stanley. But you can cut out Beethoven and then take him wherever you want and post those photos. If you send them to the Dallas Symphony Orchestra, they will post them, which is hilarious. And then let's see, where's the other thing? Oh yeah, up here, the DSO games. They have, this is great to fill out a subtub, or if you need, worksheets for whatever reason. It's got all of these word searches. It's got what's here up the front, flashcards, memory games. So it's just another great resource to have that you can use sort of however you want. Okay, I'm gonna recap here in just a second. Let me see if I can turn this back around. Okay. So, some really, really great resources. Some are just out there on YouTube. Some are on web pages. Some you do have to sign up for. What I would say is check out the St. Louis Symphony Orchestra. There are so many great things there. And like I said, when you register, you let them know that you're using the resource. So then the more people they have register, the more they can convince people to donate so that they will, you can create more resources. So check that out. The other ones that I referenced today, there's the St. Louis Symphony Orchestra, the Portland Youth Philharmonic. That's just a YouTube video that introduces instruments, pretty short. The Army Field Band, London Symphony Orchestra, and Dallas Symphony Orchestra. If you know other great online resources like the ones I talked about tonight, please send me a message or comment on this video wherever you're watching it to say hey, have you heard of what the Kansas City Symphony is doing, or have you seen this cool video from whoever? Another one I've shared about a lot, so I didn't include it tonight, is the Sydney Opera House. They have a whole channel with so many really great resources. I've shared about that a ton this year and in previous years, so I did not include that tonight, but that's another great one. If you know of any others, you're this is my local orchestra, or this one I found that I really, really love. It's super accessible and easy to use. Please pop that in the comments, and I'll try and include that in another video, because I already have a list of a couple others that I want to include, so I'll do that on another night. But I just wanted to share about these ones first, so you had a chance to check them out and use them if you're interested. Okay, well, thank you so much for coming along with me tonight. If you want to see all these resources, like I said, they're on the links page. It's linked in the caption for this video / podcast, wherever you're watching, listening to this. I hope you go check those things out. If you can't find that link, you just go to my blog, makemomentsmatter.org, and click on the videos tab and find this year's tab. You should be able to find all those links there. All right, thanks so much, everyone. Have a really great night, and I'll see y'all next week. Bye, everyone.